Hey everyone, welcome back to Not Safe for Work. I'm your host, Chloe. This is a podcast about hot people with hot jobs. Speaking of hot people with hot jobs, you may notice my new merch that I'm wearing today. If you're part of the Clomosexual universe, you are probably really excited for this merch because this is the first actually official Clomosexual merch that I've made. And by I've made, I actually mean my dear friend Ray, who's joining me on the pod today. Ray is the founder of Sweet Baby Ray's, the iconic screen printing custom fashion line. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about everything that you've built.
I'm so excited to be here, and you're wearing it so well.
Thank you so much. I mean, I see that you're also wearing a shirt of yours.
Of course, I had to rep myself.
I love it. I saw also like your shirts, maybe you've just been sending them to everyone, but I've seen all of your iconic shirts on the internet so much recently.
Well, thank you. That means I'm doing my job well.
You are doing your job well.
I'm trying to really just get out there in all the streams.
And I was peeking at your LinkedIn earlier today, and I was like curious how you're moving really quickly. Like you have started this quite recently.
Yeah.
And it seems like, things are taking off really aggressively. And I saw that context of you having this growth marketing background. And I was like, aha, so you're applying everything that you've ever learned.
Yes.
But I want to start from the top and kind of share with the audience, like, what is your brand? What is Sweet Baby Ray's? Give us kind of the TLDR of what your career is today.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, it's pretty fresh. So Sweet Baby Ray's started 5 months ago. So right now it's just t-shirts and
thongs.
Now G-strings. Just only through Clomosexual can you get G-strings. I have none on my own just yet. But you've inspired me to branch into,
thank God,
into panties. So right now, t-shirts, I hand screen print all the shirts. We have 5 or 6 prints in rotation at all times. And I've been doing new prints and retiring some just to have some exclusivity out there. But prints are all really inspired by kind of female icons of the early 2000s, as well as reclaimed kind of like slurs used against women. So like slut and cunt are my big ones, but just reclaiming that terminology, wearing it proudly. That's kind of the gist of where we're at right now.
No, definitely. And that's actually how I found you initially, was like you reached out about, sending me a shirt and I was like, oh, I need a cunt shirt. Like I wear a lot of stuff that says cunt on it. I was like, I do need this. Yeah. But it was also just like very in line with like, I'm in line with that as well, of like, calling myself a slut and whatever, like reclaiming the narrative against women. But then I was like, wait, you screen print these. Do you ever do custom ones?
And I do.
And you do. And it sounds like that's something that you're branching into as kind of like part of what Sweet Baby Ray's is.
Totally. Yeah. So my main kind of focus is making the shirts that I want to make. And those are available in a few stores, on my site. But now, this other kind of avenue is working with other people who want something homemade and made locally. And they're going to work with a small business and one single person. So it's super custom. So now I'm doing that with a handful of other people. But you were an early partnership.
I mean, and I loved it. And it was so great. I mean, I think from my perspective, like I wanted to make merch for so long. And like the daunting element of like going into like whatever printing.com and like sending them a mock. And then it's like you're talking to, and it's like, and it takes weeks to get, like, versus just texting you like collaborative ideas. And you saying, I think this would actually look cunt, and me being like, absolutely, yeah, let's run with it. And then you doing it in a matter of days.
Oh yeah. That's the other thing, is like, I can churn things out week of.
Yeah.
I think another thing that's really appealing is that it looks homemade. Like it looks like this is a handmade good and not like has this like plasticky or like mass produced kind of look to it.
Yeah.
And all of the prints kind of are a little bit different. Like the shading based on where it is in the print cycle. Like you might get one that's like much more solid, a little faded and vintage looking. And that's something I really love too.
Yeah. No, I actually love that as well. When you talk about kind of like screen printing and just Sweet Baby Ray's as a whole, like how did you get into this in the first place?
So I am actually less than a year into screen printing. So last year my best friend and my boyfriend for my birthday got me an art class of my choosing. So I was just kind of perusing because I've always done art and I've always kind of tried to incorporate that even when I've had a non-art related corporate job. So I was perusing and I found screen printing and I'd never done it. I was interested. I just took this like 8 or 12 week class at the Y, and I posted a story and I'm like, when this comes up as the 1-year anniversary, I need to repost this. It was a story of my first print I did of Carrie Bradshaw, Single and Fabulous. And I just in the class made the shirt for myself. And as soon as I did that first swipe and like took the shirt out, I was like, this is about to be my whole personality.
I love that.
And it is.
No. And I mean, I think that's such an interesting point too of like, okay, you took a class and now this is your career.
Yeah.
Because someone gave you a birthday present. That's such like a real thing that I feel like people, you know, it feels really daunting to chase your dreams or know even what are your dreams that you want to chase.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's important to just try so many different things, because that's how you end up finding that passion that you can run with. Because you wouldn't have expected that this was going to be your career.
Not at all. A year ago today, I had never done this before.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you're so talented at it now.
Thank you.
And when you're screen printing, like now that like you're past class, you're, you know, a professional, like what is the hardest part about getting started with that? Like, do you need to work out of a specific studio? Do you have to buy a ton of equipment? Like, what does that actual getting started look like?
So there's definitely a lot of materials involved. So I bought and I now own my own screens, my own ink, my own like squeegee, which you're painting with or kind of like running the ink through with. But ultimately, you don't even need all that. So I print somewhere in Bushwick, Carousels Press, and if you don't have that stuff, they provide all of these things. They provide machinery to like burn your screens and to dry your shirts and kind of all the big bulk machinery. So honestly, it's like a pretty low barrier to entry once you kind of know the process.
Right. After you've actually studied the craft. And let's talk a little bit about like what you were doing before this. So what was your career prior to taking this art class? So
I've always been in advertising and marketing. I worked at an ad agency. I then worked at a children's and baby like clothing store startup, e-com. And then I was working at a women's health, also like e-com startup, always doing, starting in advertising and growth marketing, specifically a lot of like paid social, influencer marketing.
Influencer marketing.
Yes.
And I see you do a lot of that now.
Yes.
So how much of like what you do now are you applying what you learned as a marketing, like in all of your different marketing roles that you had?
Honestly, like probably more than I realize, but in the day-to-day, I'm not doing any paid advertising, which was really like my bread and butter of all my past 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm. I could probably use your help on that.
Yeah, I can give you.
I spent a lot of money on ads, and last week I had an ad that accidentally, so I did a collaborative post with someone who is historically kind of based in California.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize until a few days into it that all my lookalike audiences had totally shifted to California.
Mm-hmm.
And like, just like stuff like that it's like, well, I don't come from this background. I'm learning it as I go. So I could probably use your help with that. But this isn't about me. This is about you. So, but yeah, I guess I'm curious, like, for example, the influencer marketing, I see you do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting, like the same way that I feel about, you know, we all had these day jobs that were 9 to 5s, whatever,
right.
But it's like, you get to use that information
for
that
sure.
you gathered.
For sure. It's definitely trickling in. I guess when I say more than I realize is I wasn't necessarily like making the influencer packages and scouting out the influencers. Actually, that's not true. I was scouting out the influencers, but I was more so on the measurement, the analytics, kind of like the budgeting and all that side of things, which as it sounds was boring as hell.
I mean, that's my favorite. I love the analytics.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite thing to talk about.
I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I am.
But I mean, that's still like extremely valuable and helpful. And like, that's
sure.
the information that you need to know. Is this campaign working or not?
For sure. Like, especially as I scale. And ideally, I will eventually have paid advertising.
Yeah. And I guess what is your, and maybe this is like a loaded question, but like, what is your goal with Sweet Baby Ray's?
So I think I'm starting small with goals. Right now, my goal is so I just had my birthday at the beginning of September. So for me, the year starts at the beginning of September.
Right. Naturally.
So, of course. My goal is to not work a corporate job this year. So have Sweet Baby Ray's become something that can totally sustain me while still living in New York and paying New York City rent, like doing all the travel and the shows and everything and eating out and all the things that I want to keep doing. But with Sweet Baby Ray's being my only source of income for that.
I mean, I guess we're only like 2 weeks into September, but like, do you feel like you're set up for success?
I do.
Yeah.
I have like a lot of exciting partnerships right now that are small batch, but I mean, like with the merch I made for you, I feel like that's going to sell out.
It's going to sell out
and we're
literally
gonna need
on
more.
Friday, and we're going to need more. I was literally going to say, like, I hope you saved the like template.
Oh yeah, I got her.
Because I was like already thinking like, well, I'm just going to keep ordering this and like maybe different colors or like whatever. But yeah, no, we only did like a certain amount. Like, and I'm also like giving it to all my friends.
Of course.
And you know,
no, that's going to fly.
That's marketing.
Yes.
So you were doing kind of this corporate job, and then do you still have a day job?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't think so. I'm like, what time is it? It's 1 p.m. on a
right.
Tuesday. I'm like,
no,
sure,
you don't tell me whenever, I'll come.
You definitely don't have a day job. So when did you quit your day job?
I actually got laid off. I had been screen printing since last, like late September, early October. And I was just doing it for fun. I was posting up. We're going to get into my origin story now.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Of Sweet Baby Ray's. So I did my first Carrie Bradshaw shirt. I just made it for myself. And then I was like, I could actually sell these because this is fucking sick. I bought a clothing rack on Amazon and I just printed a bunch of shirts. The class kind of continued and we were learning some different skills. And we had like different assignments, like make a postcard, make a like dual colored print. And I was like, hey, I'm actually going to just come in and use the machines and like not really do the lesson plan if that's cool. And they're like, yeah, for sure. Like go for it. Like run with it. So then I would just come into class with like boxes of t-shirts and print. And then I brought those. I just posted up on Crosby and Spring in Soho with my clothing rack, brought a little speaker, and I just wanted to see if I could sell it to strangers. And like the first day I did it, it popped off and I sold out. And it was like so fun also just to have all these strangers come up to me and like engage with like me and my art was, I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever done. Like this rocks. So I did that a handful of times just for fun. And then I got laid off in April and I had no idea what I was going to do. But I'm like, I know I need to do something so different than what I've been doing. I never, ever, ever want to see another Facebook ad again in my life.
Except for if it's promoting Sweet Baby Ray's.
Except for if it's for Sweet Baby Ray's. And okay, maybe for freelance.
Right.
I'll help you out.
Take it back. Yeah.
But for a like corporate company, I don't care. I don't want to do it.
You don't want a day job.
No. Not when it comes to like Instagram ads and like stuff that I don't even, it just felt icky. So I'm like, I need to do something drastically different. I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm going to spend the summer like soul searching and doing informational interviews and just like figuring out what the hell I do next. And because even though I was only 5 years into working, it feels really like.
And this was April of this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So like even 5 years into working in growth marketing, it just feels so daunting. Like, oh, I'm stuck on this ladder.
Yeah.
And then I
think a lot of people can relate to that feeling. Like,
yeah,
I think that's a lot of the reason why I started this podcast is, you know, we all get stuck in this place where we're told that we have to remain here because it's a job. And especially now when, you know, no one's blind to the fact that like the job market is like the worst it's been in our lifetime.
Yeah.
So having a job really is a privilege.
For sure.
It's just another way that capitalism gets us, you know, but I think like how you're feeling is definitely like very real. And I mean, you did chase your dreams and it is successful.
Yeah. And I mean, it still feels, we're early days still.
Early days.
Thus far, it's successful and it's so much fun. But anyway, I was like, let me just take the summer to think because I need to do a big change up. And I don't know what it's going to be yet. And the screen printing was just like, I'm just going to do this for fun on the like, continue the printing because it's something I enjoy while I do this like job soul search. And just like, oh, I can like bring in like some summer I was thinking of it like a lemonade stand, like just bringing in some like pocket change for the summer.
Yeah.
And then literally within a week, I went into a dispensary that just opened near my last apartment called Mighty Lucky on Bowery. And they just opened. I went in like maybe the day after they opened. I was like, oh, you guys are new, like checking it out. It was a super cute spot. The owner was like super friendly to everyone coming in because he just like was kind of trying to create this community. And he's like, let me know if you have any questions. Like, we're new to the neighborhood. We want this to be a communal spot. We're going to feature local artists. And I was like, let me like try this on for size. And I was like, I'm a local artist. And he's like, oh, you are? Like, what do you make? And I was like, I make these sick t-shirts. I'm going to bring in a box tomorrow. So the next day I went back, I brought my shirts, and he was like, how many can you have for us for the grand opening next week? And I was like, holy shit.
Did you make their Mighty Lucky shirts?
No, they just wanted my shirts.
I love that.
And they still carry them. Like, I thought maybe it was just going to be a grand opening thing, which that in and of itself was so sick. But now they've like I restock them every week.
Okay, so 2 things that you can buy Mighty Lucky. 1, Sweet Baby Ray's. 2, Flamer joints.
And they match. Like, the whole aesthetic goes together.
Literally. Yeah. No, sorry. I had to because I know Mighty Lucky definitely does carry Flamer.
They do.
Every trendy dispensary does.
They must.
If you don't carry Flamer, you're probably not a cool dispensary. Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
I don't know.
Had to plug. Sorry. I'm
no
always.
No apologies.
I'm like Flamer's #1 like marketing campaign.
No, I'm telling we need to do a Flamer Sweet Baby Ray's photo shoot at some point because it obviously all goes together.
No, totally.
The red, like the cherry red.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Flamer's got, so the creative director of Flamer, Matthias, is like an icon artist. Like, he's just so talented. So yes, I think that would be really cunt. But if I agreed to something creative, he would shoot me in the head. So I will make that introduction.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's on the ideal list.
He knows that like my stuff is very corny in comparison to the sexiness of Flamer, but they keep me sexy. They keep me young, you know?
There you go.
Well, I love that. That's super cool. I love the hustle mentality of like just going in and saying like, hey, can I sell this here? Yeah. Had you had experience like, not like, it's not cold calling, but it's like, had you ever done something like that before?
No, not at all.
That probably was pretty scary. But like the worst that could happen is they said no.
Yeah, for sure.
So when they said yes, like what went through your head when they were like, yeah, we'll sell your shirts?
So first they said yes, like immediately yes. And then I got, Bo, one of the owners, was like, let me actually talk to my partner. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, let me talk to Do. Do is the one kind of like in charge of the look and the feel. And I was really nervous because Do is this like badass, hot woman running this dispensary.
Cool.
And I was like, I hope she likes me. I hope she likes my shirts. And she was like, yeah. So it went from like immediate, definite yes to she then texted me and was like, yeah, let me take a look at them. Like, they're under consideration. So I was like, oh, I got too excited too soon. And then she called me later in the week and was like, all right, yeah, we're going to want like this many of the size, this many. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I was trying to just like stay calm and act like I did this all the time.
Yeah. And I mean, now you do.
And now I do.
That's also like a good lesson too on like, when people says yes, it doesn't always necessarily mean yes until the ink is dry. Like that's a huge lesson I learned in sales that I'm constantly reminding people about. It comes up in everything. Like even like you're booking an artist and their agent says yes, and then actually never mind, they say no the next day. Like it's just until the ink is dry, like nothing is real.
Yeah.
My CRO used to say, get the contract signed on Friday because, you know, the CFO could get fired on Monday. And like, something like just like a reminder of like having that conversation with that person again, even though they were the founder, there was still this other hiccup. So finding out who is your decision maker, who am I actually selling to is such a real thing, just to turn this into a sales lesson. When you started, you know, producing these shirts, so you had them in locations and so on, was there any appetite to do something that I know I've seen you at like Artisan Fleas and stuff?
Yeah.
That's like, you know, getting more into like the flea market scene. Like how much is that kind of something that you're prioritizing? Because it sounds like a lot of the stuff you're doing is actually just like stores that don't sell clothing or like, like merch, like collaborations in that way.
Yeah.
is there anything that's sort of on the horizon?
Yeah. So I got accepted to Artists and Fleas this summer. I've only done it one weekend thus far, and it was the one that you came.
Well, I came to see what it was all about.
To see if this was going to be a match.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know what you looked like because I just follow Sweet Baby Ray's, but obviously the brand was cunt. But then when you were so cute and like whatever, I was like, oh,
well, thanks.
You can make my merch for sure.
Okay.
I'm sold.
All right. Yeah. So I did that just the one weekend. I'm doing it again, Artists and Fleas Williamsburg next weekend.
Which is?
September 27th, 8th.
Okay.
And I will say my first weekend, surprisingly, I was honestly more successful when I sold on the sidewalk than when I was at Artists and Fleas, which like in a way makes, I kind of thought like, oh, people are going to be in a shopping mentality coming in here, but also I'm obviously competing with every other vendor in there.
And there's so much clothing in there.
And there's so much clothing at the vintage shop next door. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's just like so much sick stuff and you're not going to like necessarily buy from every single vendor. So I'm going to try it out again. I also think that like summer, like New Yorkers are never here in the summer. And I feel like this is a very New York brand. I'm from Philly and my family has asked if I would like come sell in Philly at all. And I'm like, I don't think it would fly in Philly. Like, I don't think there's as much of that spirit of like walking down the street in a cunt shirt, honestly.
No,
like,
literally. My parents live in Philly now and I like feel that. But honestly, if you wanted to sell in Philly, like Thanksgiving, like should we post up on the street? Like me, you and Moose.
Could do it.
I love that.
Everyone home for their like college or high school football games and we're there selling cunt t-shirts.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe that's not very Pennsylvania.
I don't know.
I don't know. But I actually do think that makes a lot of sense too. Like, I also think what's cool about when you're selling something on the street, it's like disruptive. Like when you're going into a store that it's like, we're expecting to buy something versus like, I saw this really cool thing. Like I need to buy it right now. And you're the only thing versus like, there's so many things around you.
I think I'm just shocked even still that people will stop what they're doing to buy from me on the street. And I am like so unofficial looking. I just have a clothing rack and like a teeny tiny speaker. And I don't know. It's like I'm in awe. And obviously I'm so happy that people do. But I'm like, it's crazy that you were just like beelining to Glossier and yet you're stopping and like giving me your money on the street.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also true. Like New York is very that. Yeah. Like I've sold my shit on the street. Just like my shit, like, you know what I mean? So like you look more official than the rest of us who are, because everyone's selling their shit on the street.
It's true. I think it also adds to like the like fabric of New York. Cause I get a lot of tourists actually in Soho when I sell. And I feel like the Carrie Bradshaw.
I was going to say they must love the Carrie Bradshaw.
They love the Carrie Bradshaw and it says New York at the top because it's like New York Magazine. And I feel like it's just like, oh my God, this is so New York City. Like I'm visiting and there's just like an artist on the street and she has pink hair and she has these homemade t-shirts and it's like the best souvenir and it's like so authentic New York.
I love that. I mean, it is. That's like, it's like funny. Like, you know, those t-shirts that are like, my parents went to Michigan and all they got me.
Yeah. This lazy
but like,
t-shirt.
it's like, that's cunt.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be a great t-shirt to have as a gift.
All they got me was this cunty t-shirt.
Oh, this cunty t-shirt. So with Sweet Baby Ray's right now, so this is now your career. So like we went through the summer.
Yes.
How, like, where are we at?
So as far as
like, this is like you soul searched this summer.
Yeah. And I found it.
And it's Sweet Baby Ray's.
I found it in me. It's right here.
I mean, that's so iconic.
It's been right here all along.
Were people like surprised? Were people like, oh, I knew this was going to happen? Like the moment that you started working on this and couldn't shut up about it and made it your whole personality?
I honestly haven't gotten much feedback on like whether it was expected or not. I mean, I guess I've always done art to some capacity. And before this, I was like, and since graduating from college, I've just tried to turn my art into something that I can scale and honestly like sell and turn into a side gig. So for a few years, I've been doing some sort of sellable art for the past few years. So I was doing like painted jean jackets for a while that I started doing in COVID and like getting orders that way and like getting people to like DM me and get orders for me. And then I was like playing around with watercolors and doing like note cards and like invitations. And I had done some like logos and graphic design stuff. So I feel like I've always at least for the past several years, been like putting myself out there as somebody who like wants to do art and wants to make some type of money off of it. So I don't think anybody's like jaw on the floor.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't know that you were doing that kind of stuff as well before. I love to like the element that like you were working more in the DMs before, like people being like, yeah, I want to buy your art versus like now physically on the street. Do you have an e-commerce presence for?
So I just launched a website
Congrats.
last week.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Wow, that's so exciting.
I will say that's somewhere where my like last few jobs comes in, because I'm like Shopify. I know Shopify.
Right. How's it going? Like, is that kind of something that you're prioritizing now? More like, are you going to start doing the boosted ads and all like selling to people in that way, or is it more kind of like inbound interest?
Yeah, I think right now just inbound. Definitely like to come, that'll all change. But I think for now it's just like it's in my bio. And now instead of like, okay, DM me your size, what color you want, what print you want, like all that is just online on my site.
You can just like easily order it.
Yeah.
When you think of like the administrative stuff that like you had to do to get set up for to run your business, I mean, like building a website is one of those things.
Yeah.
Like how much of the administrative stuff do you feel like was kind of a no-brainer and has come into it? And is there stuff that like like, do you have a legitimate like LLC or anything for that?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
Cool. So like, what was your experience in terms of like the actual like getting paperwork done and getting this to be a legitimate business? Like, is that something that you had done before?
I had not done that before. And unfortunately, I don't have anything cool to say here, because my dad was like helping me do the LLC. He like knows that world. And he helped me set that up.
I mean, I used one of those like services like Northwest Registered Agent or whatever. Shout out to them. It was like quite a confusing, like that's something I feel like a lot of starting a business that feels like the daunting part is like, okay, how do I make sure I don't go to jail for like tax?
Oh my God. Yeah. When it comes to taxes, like I will be confused.
I'm going to need a specific accountant.
Yes.
For this year. And moving forward.
Is this going to be your first like tax season?
Yeah. Like, yeah, I didn't make money on this until this year. Okay. So yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. I've had like a regular, just like, it's just like, you know, one tax form at the end of the year. And now I've got like, I don't know. Oh
my God. Yeah, true. Because within this year, I also worked at a corporate job.
Well, but also just like tracking all of the money you spend versus like whatever. I mean, I have a company credit card and a QuickBooks account and all of that stuff, but it's still extremely daunting. I mean, on that note, like, I guess I'm curious, like when you think of the things that do stress you out about this, like, let's be realistic with the people too. Like, what are the things about like running, like making this quick transition to running your own business and really just like getting a business live that you feel like are the things that like do keep you up at night right now?
Honestly, I mean, maybe it's because it's so new, but like, I'm not stressed yet. I'm just having fun. It's just fun.
I love that. I mean, I think that's how work, like, it's so gross that like our country is based on the notion that like you should be miserable. Like, that's why it's work. You get paid for it.
But it's like, oh, what's keeping you up at night? What's keeping you up at night? Like, oh, actually nothing. That's a crazy answer.
I mean, things are, but that's because this didn't used to keep me up at night, but now it's gotten so big that it does.
Yeah.
I'm sure
I think that's something that comes with scale also.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty small scale.
Yeah. Are you going to be hiring people? Like what's the plan for that?
I don't need to, like in the near future. I also like that I am the only one that I'm hand printing every shirt. So like, I think you saw this, but Lindsay Lohan posted
I did
Kristen
see this.
Chenoweth in my Lindsay Lohan shirt.
Babe, that's what I was referring to. I was like, you're glowing up.
That was crazy. And I didn't have a single hand in that. I didn't even send that to anybody.
How to get there?
Kristen's stylist came into Mighty Lucky, wore it to something with Kristen. Kristen was like, give me that shirt. I'm shooting something with Lindsay Lohan and I need that. I had no hand in it. Somebody just DM'd me, did you see this? And I was like, what the actual shit? What the hell? It was crazy.
Wait, so they bought it?
Yes. They paid for that.
That's I can't you can't pay for that kind of organic promo.
It's insane. But to say that, like bring that all back to, I like the fact that I'm hand screen printing everything. So I know that I touched that shirt. I made that with my hands and Lindsay Lohan is touching it.
I mean,
and Kristen Chenoweth is wearing it.
And that's priceless.
Seriously.
That's so, I didn't realize that you didn't send it to them.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, because you've done such a good job. I saw that you sent to my friend Skylar, who was second episode of the pod, third episode of the pod, person who does Kim Petras visual, Munoz visual, and is coming out with has come out with her own music and is popping the fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, talk about God Loves Sluts.
God Loves Sluts. I know. Yeah, her whole thing. Have you seen the flyers around New York that's like, are you a slut?
I saw that. I sent it to her. Oh yeah, and then we found out that you're her poster girl.
Well, I didn't hang them. I connected her with my poster guy.
Okay.
Because God forbid.
You don't hang your own posters.
Well, it's just like, he's so good. I've got a guy and he's like really good.
He knows the right polls.
But like making sure it was, yeah, exactly. No, like dead ass. Like actually though, making sure that it was like in the right neighborhoods and like whatever. But yeah, like Skylar is based in California, and I think it's funny that you were like, "Oh, I figured like she must have someone on the ground in New York." It's like it's me.
Yeah, it's you. You are the eyes and the ears down here.
It's just funny that how much overlap. But I love like just seeing that and just like organically that that wasn't because we're connected, and it's like you're making those. I know that Christian Chenoweth did this on their own, but like you are also making those connections of like, okay, this person has a song about slut. Like even if there's someone who like is a new artist,
yeah, totally,
or whatever, like. You're going to get 1,000 requests after this to be like, send me a shirt.
I hope so.
Well, cool. I have some rapid fire questions for you. And by rapid fire, I mean medium rapid fire. First thing that comes to mind. But
okay.
Also like no pressure, take your time.
Okay. Yeah. I can think about it.
People always get stressed when I say rapid fire. I'm like, actually, like, it's still a conversation. Okay. Hottest part about your career or your job?
I think it's when I'm walking down the street in something that I made and someone's like, love your shirt. And I'm like, I made it. That rocks.
Have you ever been walking down the street and seen someone wearing your shirt?
Yes. It's only happened to me once, but it was on 4th of July and I was a little bit tipsy and I was like, am I dreaming? This is crazy. Someone walking down Bedford in Williamsburg. And it was this like cute boy wearing my Carrie Bradshaw shirt. I took a picture with him. I was so over the moon excited.
Where did he get it?
From Mighty Lucky. And then I was like,
dude,
oh my
Mighty
God.
Lucky is your main outpost.
I know. And I was like, oh my God, can I give you my business card? Follow me on Instagram. Like I'm going to post this picture and I can tag you. He turns around his phone. He has a clear phone case. And he's like, I already have it. And he had my business card in the back of his phone. And I was like, shut the hell up. Like what? And then it gets better. Then like a month later, somebody DMs me a post from, I think he's a Korean influencer. And he has like millions of followers. And he's just this like big TikTok, Instagram influencer. And he's I'm like, that's the kid I ran into. And he's like famous in Asia. And he's out here with millions of followers wearing my shirt. He posted my shirt. Like a whole post with like 9 slides wearing my shirt in all these different locations when he came on this like trip to New York. And he has like a picture in front of the Brooklyn Bridge, a picture on riding the subway. Like,
shut the fuck up.
I was like, are you kidding me?
I can't wait till you're walking down the street and you see someone wearing a Clomosexual shirt.
I know.
I'm going to freak out.
I'm so excited. So like, anyway, basically like we're international.
No, I mean, clearly that is hot.
Yeah.
Cunt. Okay, cool. Cunt.
Of course.
As it says on many of your shirts. Okay. Misconception about your job.
I think the process of printing is much longer and more involved than people think it's going to be. So like when I go print, I printed yesterday. It's like a 7 or 8 hour day in the studio. And it's like beginning to end. Like the studio is not doing anything for me. They're not making the screens. The only thing they do is print out like the design, which I then turn into a screen, and like the whole process. It's like very physical, which I love, but I'm like exhausted physically by the end of the day. So yeah, I think just that it's a lot more intensive.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is something that takes literal physical labor.
Yeah.
How long? So if you're there for 7-8 hours of the day, like how much do you produce?
On a typical day like that, I could produce like 200 or 250.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're like, you've got a system down.
Yes.
I couldn't believe how quickly you did this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I love that. We'll post some BTS of that so people can see the the process. Hottest job you ever had?
Well, definitely this.
People often say that.
Yeah, it's definitely wasn't doing Facebook ads for Dollar General.
I mean, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a hot job. Do you feel like your vibe has gotten hotter since you started this job?
100%.
I'm just like thinking like the pink hair is new, for example.
Yes.
And your aesthetic is just so kind.
Thank you so much.
Do you feel like being an artist and like not working at a corporate job is like allowing you to express yourself?
Yes, 1,000%. And it's so fun.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like also representing my brand at all times. But it has made me like cooler for sure. I'm like, I didn't know I would wear a cunt shirt walking down the street. And now I'm like, of course I would.
So real. I mean, I used to think about this stuff all the time. I would have all this anxiety of like expressing myself because I sold software to CFOs. So it's like, how does this come off? And now I don't think about wearing a cunt shirt down the street either, but I used to.
Yeah.
But now I'm wearing your cunt shirt that you screen printed. And I feel cunt. And that's all it is.
And I hope that I'm helping other people feel that way too.
No, literally. If you want to feel hot about yourself and have the courage to quit your job, buy a Sweet Baby Ray cunt shirt.
I think that's my new tagline.
Yep. There's something in there for sure.
Feel hot, quit your job.
Buy a Sweet Baby Ray cunt shirt.
Yeah.
Period. Hardest job you've ever had?
I think it was my last job doing growth marketing. It was like so specifically on social media ads. And I felt like it was draining my soul. And something I've been talking about a lot with my friends is like, I feel like I've always been like a high achiever and good at things and a perfectionist. And it's hard to be good at something when you don't give a shit about it. So I was also really like, I felt like I was bad at it. And that also felt really bad. And that also like, I feel like messed with my like sense of self and like self-confidence. So do I think it's hard to like click the buttons required to do what I was doing? No, it was like so mindless. But it was hard because I had to like trudge through it. And it was,
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I really like the way that you said that is like, it wasn't the actual like clicking of the buttons. It was more like you being the one clicking the buttons.
Yes.
I think so many people can relate to that of like, I could be good at this, but it makes me want to die inside.
Literally.
Yeah.
And also like, I was like, am I lazy? Am I just like, why am I not good at this? This should be easy. Like,
This was the job you just got laid off from?
Yeah. And I'm like,
were you happy to be laid off?
When it happened, so this job put me in like the deepest, darkest hole I've ever been in. I was so depressed, so anxious. I was sleeping like 2 hours a night. Not even because it was so stressful, just because I was like, I was like, I don't know what I have to do, but I can't be doing this anymore. And like we were talking about earlier, like I felt trapped. Like, well, I'm 5 years into growth marketing, so like this is all I can do. Like, what do I do? Start over? Like, yeah, actually, it'll be a lot fucking happier and nicer to start over than keep doing something that you hate. But when it first happened, it was out of nowhere. I wasn't like on a performance plan. It was nothing. I logged onto like a weekly meeting with my manager.
Well, that's how layoffs have been in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
No company is doing well and they're all just consistently cutting employees.
Yeah. So it was out of the blue and it was like a 3-minute call. Call was over. I was logged out of everything. And I was like, holy shit. Like now I'm depressed and I have no income. Like what the hell do I do? And then literally within 10 days, my depression, anxiety, and insomnia all lifted. And I was like, oh, okay.
This is a lot better.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's so important. I think like so many people feel this way. This really is like the reason I started this podcast is like,
totally.
It's really impossible to be your best self and like be as like effective even like in your job if like your job makes you want to die.
And in like all aspects, like as a friend, as a sister, daughter, etc.
Because it drains you so much that you also then have no time outside of it.
Right.
No, that's a really real thing. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Okay. My childhood answer, which I must say, because I think she would be very proud, was a dress designer pastry chef.
Okay. You give that.
Thank you. And I would say I'm now a clothing designer, and I was baking my birthday cake right before I came here.
Okay, period.
So kind of accomplished that.
Wait, when's your birthday? I thought it was early September, right?
It was, but
you're...
my birthday party is this weekend.
I love that.
You should come through if you're not hungover on Saturday.
I'll get home at like 7 a.m.
Perfect. Sleep and then roll into my birthday
maybe.
party.
It's not a no.
We are neighbors.
I know. Let's not dox ourselves on the internet.
True.
I'll cut that out.
I'm not saying where.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay. If you could give one piece of advice to anyone feeling stuck or looking to go into something artistic, like what is the advice you would give?
I feel like I would say I think I was in a very good position to where I was laid off. I don't know if I could have quit on my own. Like, I don't know if I ever would have brought myself to do that. I would say in general, maybe just continue. Always find a way to be creative, even if you don't have a creative job. And even if it's never going to become your job, I think it was really important to continue having a creative outlet once I graduated from college and was in the corporate world, because it had always brought me so much joy and it was always such an outlet, and it like you get into that flow state. And so, yeah, I think whether or not you're going to turn it into something monetary, like prioritize having art if you're a creative person, like take a art class or just like make time for your hobby outside of work, even if it's like on the weekend. It'll
make you feel more fulfilled in your day job too, for sure. Like
exactly,
if you are a creative person and you're not feeling creative at work, like just even doing that outside of work.
100%.
And that's, you never really go into it being like, well, sometimes you do, but more often than not, you go into it just being like, I'm taking an art class.
Totally.
And that's why it's important. If you're a creative person, like just try a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. Well, it's been a joy, a pleasure, like an iconic moment having you here today.
Thank you so much.
Where can the people find Sweet Baby Ray's?
So new website, Sweet Baby Ray's Tees, TEES, so that you don't go to the barbecue sauce website.
Right. Oh, is that bad for SEO?
I don't know yet.
Okay, cool.
I don't know.
We'll circle back.
Yeah. On Instagram, _sweet_baby_rays.
I'll tag.
I know it's a lot. I'm trying to change that. So hopefully in the future, it'll just be Sweet Baby Ray's Tees. Maybe when this comes out.
I love it. And then Artisan Fleas, September 27th and 28th.
Exactly. I'll be at Artisan Fleas Williamsburg probably pretty regularly. I'm trying to get in to do Chelsea Market because that's a 7-day-a-week thing.
Yes, that's right. And then also Mighty Lucky is 7 days a week.
And Mighty Lucky.
The dispensary. Stop in for a Sweet Baby Ray tea, leave with a Sweet Baby Ray tea and a flamer.
And at your events coming up.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. You can get a Clomosexual shirt on Friday, but you won't hear this before then. So,
but I'm sure they'll be at future events.
Oh, 100%. Just this iteration, I'm like, might be small batch exclusivity. Yeah. Like, I'm like, we'll see how they sell out, No, totally. We are going to make different iterations. Well, Ray, thank you so much for coming on the pod today.
Thank you. So fun.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.